Will pay homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. We pay homage to the holy feet of the Buddha. Buddham Dhammam Sangham Namaskar. Hello and welcome everyone to the Wednesday Dhamma reading session. Today we are going to continue our reading of Bhante Vimalaramsi's transcripts of Majjhima Nikāya. Last week we have read MN 18. Today we are reading MN 19. Two kinds of thoughts. Dvedhāvitakka Sutta. Bhante Vimalaramsi. This particular sutta, if you have listened to some of the talks on the website, you have probably heard it before. This is called the two kinds of thoughts. And this is a kind of an important sutta because it brings up a lot of very interesting points, not only having to do with your meditation, but also having to live your life. A while back, we developed a kind of systematic way of practicing the meditation, and we called it the 6 R's because each one of these starts with an R word. We recognize when mind has gone away from the object of meditation. We release that distraction. In other words, we let it be there by itself, but we do not give it any more attention. We relax the tension and tightness caused in our head and in our mind. We re-smile. Now you have heard me talk a lot yesterday and during the interviews about smiling. And I want you to be serious about that. I want you to smile a lot. It improves your mindfulness so much that it's unbelievable. It's a very good tool. After re-smiling, then you return to your object of meditation and you repeat, staying with your object of meditation and repeat the whole thing over again when mind gets distracted. Each part of the 6 R's is run by mindfulness. Now, what's the definition of mindfulness? I need the definition of mindfulness. What is it? It's remembering to watch how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. That's what mindfulness actually is. It doesn't have anything to do with concentration or staying on one thing in the present moment. It is just about observing how mind's attention is moving from one thing to another in the present moment. So, with each of these 6 R's, recognizing takes remembering to watch. Releasing means remembering to let go. See how remembering is mixed up in all of this. It's remembering to relax. It's remembering to smile. Coming back to your object of meditation. All of these different R's has mindfulness in them. It's like mindfulness is the gas for the vehicle to work. And if you don't have this gas, then you kind of wind up floundering in your meditation, not quite knowing exactly what to do. But practicing the 6 hours is the way to remember how to do the meditation, how to do it exactly, how to do it precisely. Now, when something arises and it pulls your attention from one thing to another, it always happens in the same way. Your mind is on your object of meditation and you lose your mindfulness. You lose the observation of staying with your object of meditation at that time. It gets weak for whatever reason. It's just distracted. Now your mind goes from your object of meditation to the distraction. Distraction. Any one of the 6 sense doors, doesn't matter what it is, it just pulls your attention away. Now, the question that we need to answer is, how did that happen? Why it happened? We don't care. How does this process work? The Buddha taught us precisely and exactly how mind's attention goes from one thing to another. And I am not going to go through the entire dependent origination tonight, but there is a feeling that arises at one of the sense doors. Now, feeling isn't about emotion necessarily. Feelings are pleasant or painful, or neither painful nor pleasant. That's what feelings are. Right after feeling arises, craving arises. Craving is the I like it, I don't like it mind. Craving always manifests as a slight tightness or tension in your mind and in your body. Right after the craving arises, then clinging arises. What's clinging? Give it a try. Okay, it's I am that feeling. I am these thoughts. That's what attachment always is. And when you hear about greed, hatred, and delusion, delusion is always taking the greed into the lust and the hatred as being mine personally. This is me. This is who I am. So, both of those have the same definition. I get real big on definitions whenever I give a talk because there's a lot of words that we are supposed to understand, but we don't always have a clear idea, like the word mindfulness. It's talked about whole lot, but I have read countless number of books that say this is what mindfulness is, and they go off on some story and they never tell you what it is. So that's why I give you that definition. It's remembering to observe how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. With that definition, all the other descriptions can start to make sense. So that's why I do that with definitions. Clinging is all of the stories, all of the concepts, all of your opinions, all of your ideas about why you like or dislike the feeling that arises. And this is where the real strong reinforcement of I am that comes from. It starts with the craving, but it gets built up real strong once their thoughts about the stories, the opinions, the ideas. After clinging arises, then there is your habitual tendencies. Now, in a lot of different teachers will give different definitions for the Pali word bhava. Some of them will give a definition of experience, being experience, things like that. I had a real deep talk with my teacher, who was an Adidhamma scholar for many years. A couple years ago, he just passed away. Usilananda, he was a Burmese scholar and was and we had a long discussion about the word bhava, and he was giving me all of these Adidhamma codes about bhava, and I asked him if we could say that it is the habitual tendency, and he stopped for a little while and he said, actually, that's a good definition. So that's the one I'm going to go with. And your habitual tendency is whenever this feeling arises, I always act that way. When this feeling arises, the craving is there, the concepts, the opinions, the ideas about it always make this set of thoughts come up, or this set of feelings, or this desire to control the situation. Now, when we start talking about the psychophysical process of mind and body, we have a physical body, we have feeling that's pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. There is perception. Perception is a part of a mind that looks at this and says, this is a glass. That's that part of the mind that names things. We have thoughts and we have consciousness. Now, what happens to us all the time is a feeling arises. It doesn't matter whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, but most often when it's unpleasant, that's when the thoughts really come up strong and want to control the feeling. But feelings are one thing and the thoughts are something else. You cannot control the feelings with the thoughts. Every time you're trying to control the feeling with the thoughts, you get caught in your habitual tendency of thinking, I am that feeling. I want it to be the way I want it to be when I want it that way. And I really suffer a lot because I am indulging in these desires to control the feeling. So, the more we can recognize that feelings are one thing and the thoughts are something else, then we can let go of the thoughts about it and see the feeling for what it is and allow the feeling to be without trying to control it, without trying to make it any different than it is. When a feeling arises, did you ask it to come up? Did you say, well, I haven't been sad for a long time. I haven't been worried for a long time. I haven't been upset for a long time. It's time to have that feeling come up. Nobody's gonna do that. It comes up because the conditions are right for it to arise. Whatever arises in the present moment dictates what happens in the future. If you resist the present moment, if you fight with the present moment, if you try to control the present moment in any way, you can look forward to a lot of suffering and pain. Now, this is where we have our choice. This is a volitional choice that we can make right at that moment. When this painful feeling comes up, and we let go of the thoughts about it, and we can allow the feeling to be, or we can fight with it. And it's always your personal choice. When we allow the feeling to be, what are we doing at the moment? We are letting go of the identification with that feeling. The feeling is just the feeling. I did not ask it to come up. It's up by itself. It's all right for it to be there. It has to be all right because that's the truth. That's the Dhamma. Now you can notice as you allow that feeling to be there, there is some tension and tightness kind of wrapped around that feeling. And the tension and tightness is the craving. Now let's take a look at the Four Noble Truths. We have suffering. Yeah, we have it. That's for sure. There is a cause of suffering. That's the cause of suffering. What's the cause of suffering? Craving. And craving always manifests as this tension and tightness. Remember that it is an important thing. When you have the cessation of suffering, how do you have the cessation of suffering? By letting go of the craving, by letting go of that tension caused in your mind and in your body, letting it be. And you do this by following the Eightfold Path. So we have a choice. Whenever a feeling arises, we can take that feeling personally and wrestle with it and fight with it and try to control it and dislike it or indulge in it or not. That's your choice. As you become more familiar with the 6 R's, recognize, release, relax, see, that's letting go of that craving. Re-smile, return, repeat. As you become more familiar with that process, you start to see more and more clearly how mind's attention moves from one thing to another. As you become more familiar with how mind's attention moves from one thing to another, you start recognizing it more quickly. You start letting go more easily. In other words, you are letting go of the hindrance when it arises, so it doesn't catch you for as long. That's how you purify your mind. Every time you let go of craving, every time you relax that craving, your mind is pure at that time. There is no thoughts in your mind. There are only this real, pure alertness and a peaceful, calm feeling. And you want to bring that mind back to your object of meditation. That's the mind that's free from craving. That's how you purify your mind. Nanda madam, can you read?
Yes, Sindhu, I can read. Now, old habitual old habitual habits are going to stick around for a period of time. How long have you been practicing this habit, or of this being this way? 1 minute. It's not going to take that long to let it go and change a habit, but it's going to take a while. As you start to learn how you cause yourself pain and suffering, as you start to see how you not only cause yourself pain and suffering, but you cause pain and suffering to other people around you, then you start going, oh, I don't want to do that. Let's that go. Let's let that go. Now, with the instruction last night, I told you I want you to smile. They want to laugh. Okay. This is the spiritual path. We are not supposed to laugh, but the thing is, the fastest way to change your perspective, the fastest way to let go of the I am that is to laugh with your mind at how crazy it is for being attached. And as soon as you do that, you are no longer attached. That attachment that you had of I am that changes very, very quickly from I am that to it's only that. I am mad. Oh, it's only anger. I don't need to get angry at anything. It's easy to let go of when you change the that changes perspective. That is the first part of the eightfold path. The eightfold path, they call it right view. They call it right understanding. I have another definition of samma, which to me is a little bit softer, and I call it harmonious. When you think of right, then the opposite ways of comes up in your mind, whether you really like to think about it or not. There's wrong. So everything is black and white, but when you use the word harmonious, that it takes it out of the realm and makes it a little bit more fluid. So I kind of prefer a harmonious perspective instead of right understanding or right view. When you have a harmonious perspective, you have the perspective that everything is impersonal and there is a happiness, there is a collectedness, there's a kind of contentment with that kind of whenever you can remember to do this. Some year back, I was teaching loving kindness meditation, but at that time I was practicing mindfulness of breathing because I have done both meditation for a long period of time. And one of my students walked up to me and they said, "You're not smiling when you sit." And I really let people know, I want you to smile all the time. Sit with a smile on your face. Well, I wasn't practicing loving kindness, so I didn't even consider that I should smile. And as soon as they said that, I went, that's right. Doesn't matter which meditation it is. If you are going to practice the 6 hours, you got to practice them all the way, so you got to smile. And then I started watching very closely what happened when there is smile on your lips and smile in your heart. Your awareness is so much uplifted. Your agility of mind and your mindfulness is so much sharper. It's easier to recognize when your mind is starting to go away. So you can catch more quickly and let it go more easily. So I started saying, okay, we'll try that one and see how it goes. And I really became impressed with the speed of the progress in the meditation. Whenever you add a smile with your practice, it really works. And you add your sense of humor to that. What does that do? When you have a sense of humor about how crazy your mind can be, you're not crazy anymore. You are in the present moment. And you haven't got that identification with this feeling that can seem overwhelming because it's so big and makes you feel so bad. But when you laugh with that, all of a sudden you can see this huge mountain that's completely overwhelming is nothing but this little bump. The only reason it turned into the huge mountain was because of your perspective. And when you laugh with this, it changes your perspective, and all of a sudden, your mindfulness picks up and your alertness picks up. And you start to see more clearly how mind becomes serious about things. And when it becomes serious, that means you are attached there. There's the I am that is caught up in that. Okay, here is the two kinds of thought. Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living at Savati in Jetta's Grove, Anantapindika's park. There he addressed the monks thus. Monks, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Blessed One said this. Monks, before my enlightenment, when I was still only unenlightened Bodhisattva, it occurred to me, suppose that I divide my thoughts into two classes. Then I set on one side thoughts of sensual desire, thoughts of ill will, thoughts of cruelty, and I set other side thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of non-ill will, and thoughts of non-cruelty. What are thoughts of non-ill will? It's loving kindness. What are the thoughts of non-cruelty? Compassion. She's already heard this talk probably 20 times. Give me a definition of compassion. It's accepting that another person has pain, allowing them to space, allowing them the space to have that pain. You can't take another's pain away from them. Their pain is their pain. As you allow them the space to have their pain, you love them unconditionally. That's compassion. I just went to a talk where somebody was giving a definition of compassion of taking their pain away a little bit. That's the fastest way to make yourself sad. Oh, you poor dear. I feel so sorry for you. Well, I am doing is making myself feel lousy. I am certainly not helping them out any. I used to go to the hospital a lot when I was in Asia. A lot of people had cancer and had different kinds of diseases where there was a lot of pain. Always before I went, when I was walking down the hall, I was preparing myself to walk into the room. And I did that by telling myself it doesn't matter what the pain is. It's okay for them to have that. I can be happy. And I would repeat that as I was walking down the hallway. And I always talked in and I had a smile on my face. And hey, how is it going? And they would tell me things like, as soon as I walked into the room, it was like fresh air coming into the room because their pain is their pain. And it's okay. It has to be okay because that's the truth. And I was radiating loving kindness. So that's my definition of compassion. There's probably a lot more to it than it, but that is the way I found it to be most useful. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of sensual desire arose in me. I understood thus. This thought of sensual desire has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. Bhante Vimalaramsi. When there is a sensual desire or any of the hindrance that arises in your mind, they cause a pain in you and can cause pain in other people around you when you're not practicing your mindfulness. Now, the hindrances, as much as people don't like me saying this, are your best teachers. I mean, head and shoulders higher than any other kind of teaching that you could possibly learn. That you could possibly learn because the hindrances are showing you where your attachments are. They are your best friends. Every hindrance has I am that. Every hindrance has I am that attached to it. So there's a real strong identification. So there's a real strong identification with this hindrance or that one. There's a lot of craving involved with it. I like this and I want to keep this. I love this feeling when it comes up and I indulge in it that way. Or when it comes up, oh no, I don't want that, and I try to push it away. I try to control it, but it's always I am there. Now, when a hindrance arises, it is showing you exactly where your attachment is and how attached you are to that hindrance to either this the liking or the disliking. Here it is very important to note that even Bhante Vimalaramsi, when he has started practicing, he has also learned about this smile technique because when he was teaching their classes, one of the students asked him, "You're not smiling." Then Bhante Vimalaramsi has realized that there is definitely an impact of the smiling, and Bhante has experienced himself of how this smile is impacting, and even laugh. Bhante was emphasizing here the laugh. Yes, Nanda madam, do you want to add anything, Nanda madam? Yes, Gopinath sir, do you want to read? The whole part of being able to see how mind's attention moves from one thing to another is a very important aspect of how the process of mind and body actually works. The whole point of the meditation is to see this process as clearly as you possibly can. It always happens in the same way. There's a contact with one of the sense door. The feeling arises, the pleasant, unpleasant, neutral, craving arises, clinging arises, habitual tendency is there. I won't go on to explain all the dependent origination, but this is enough to give you the idea that you have to be able to see how that hindrances pulls your mind from the object of meditation. When you are peaceful and calm and smiling and happy and very much at ease, to being sad, anxious, worried, depressed, fearful, whatever the catch of the day happens to you, how did that happen? That is the key question that we need to look at in Buddhism. Over the years, it seems that there's been a bigger stress on why does something happen. As when I was in Burma, one of my teachers, he used to kind of laugh because of the Westerners. They are always worried about why. And when he said it's a Western disease, it's analyzing things, it's trying to figure out why something happens, who needs that. When we let go of why and start looking at how, we start seeing it more and more as part of an impersonal process. Just to be observed rather than a personal process to try to control. So it's very necessary thing to have a hindrance arise and will always accommodate you when your mindfulness is a little bit weak. And when it's not as sharp as it could be, and there's all kinds of reasons for your mindfulness wavering in one way or another. But we don't care about why, we just care about how. So the more we can start to observe how would that happen, what happened first, what happened after that, what happened after that, what happened next. As you are able to see the process, you start becoming more and more familiar with how this process works. As you become more familiar with this, you start letting go as you start recognizing this process more and more easily, more and more quickly. You start letting go of some of your habitual tendencies. You start letting go of the thoughts that about. You start letting go of the craving. You start letting the feeling be. And as you become more and more familiar with that, you do that faster and faster. When you treat an hindrance in this way, you are seeing it as an impersonal process. It doesn't have anything to fight with. It doesn't have anything to push back against because I am not there. I am not trying to control it. I am not trying to fight with it. I am allowing this feeling to be there by itself, letting go of the thoughts and the cravings about that feeling. As you do that, that hindrance becomes weaker and weaker until finally it fades away. Mm. When that happens, Watson.
When that happens, there's a huge sense of relief. It's like somebody just took this big bag of rocks off off your shoulders and you didn't even know you were carrying it. Feel really good. And then you feel joy. You feel really, really happy. And the joyful feeling, this kind of joyful feeling, is different from other kinds of joyful feeling. This is called uplifting joy. And this joy you feel very light in your mind. You feel very light in your body, almost like you're floating. It's like you could take a walk out in the desert and almost not leave any footprints. That's how light you feel. Now, that will last for a period of time, and then when that fades away, you will feel more comfortable than you have ever felt. You will feel comfortable in your mind. You will feel very comfortable in your body. This is what the Buddha called sukha or happiness. Your mind becomes very tranquil, very much at ease. You have let go of this hindrance that kept on pulling your mind's attention away. Now, your mind's attention just stays on the object of meditation by itself. That's no effort. That is what they call effortless effort. Your mind is very tranquil. It's very easy to notice when a thought starts to come up, and you can let it go very quickly, relax, and then come back. What I have just described to you is the experience of the first jhana. Now, the thing with the word jhana is it's gotten such a bad rap in so many different areas that the understanding of the word jhana isn't as clear as it could be. The word jhana means a level of understanding, and you have gained that understanding by letting go of the hindrance. You have gained the understanding by seeing how this process works and how it was part of an impersonal process. So, there was the letting go of this attachment, and that leads to this stage of understanding. And there is a lot of insight into this. Your insight is the thing that helps you develop your wisdom. The definition of wisdom is seeing the process of dependent origination always. Every time the word wisdom is used in the scriptures, in the text, it, it's talking about dependent origination. Always that. Now, when say sensual desire comes up, it's a pleasant feeling, and your mind grabs onto that and says, hey, I like that. This is really something. And there is that craving that arises. I like it. I want it. I want it to stay the same all the time. And then your thoughts and your opinions about why you like that feeling and your habitual tendencies. As you begin to become familiar with this, and it takes effort to see how this practice actually does work. And the effort is this, and we will go back to the Eightfold Path, noticing when an unwholesome state arises, letting go of that unwholesome state and relaxing, bringing up a wholesome state and smiling, and keeping that wholesome state going. So, sensual desire arises. I like it. I want it to be this way. I want it never to change. But of course, everything does change. And it's real exciting. And all of whatever the cause of sensual desire is. But your mind grabs onto it and says, this is really great. Now, what is this called a Why is this called a hindrance? Because you don't even know where you are anymore. You don't know you have a body. You don't know what your mind is doing. All you know is that you like it and you are indulging in all of these thoughts and you are identifying with all of these thoughts and taking them personally. That's why it's a hindrance. So, this can cause affliction for yourself. It can cause a lot of pain to arise in yourself because you're taking it personally. This is who I am. You can cause pain in other people because your desire to have that sensual pleasure, you can wind up stepping on other people's toes to get that pleasure. You can cause pain for others, other people. You can cause pain for both of you. Majjhima Nikāya repeats, it obstructs wisdom. Now, remember the definition of wisdom is seeing dependent origination. You are not able to see how the process works because you're so involved in trying to obtain that sensual pleasure. Majjhima Nikāya causes difficulties. I think that everybody can probably agree with that and leads away from Nibbana. Anything that leads away from wisdom leads away from Nibbana. Majjhima Nikāya. When I considered this leads to my own affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to others' affliction, it subsided in me. When I considered this leads to the affliction of both, it subsided in me. When I considered this obstructs wisdom, causes difficulty, and leads away from Nibbana, it subsided in me. Whenever a thought of sensual desire arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. Bhante Vimalaramsi. And the way you do that is always by practicing the 6 Rs. Translating is really a difficult thing because you are going from one language to another and there's always different nuances in the way words are being used and that sort of thing. And when you hear in a translation what this just said, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it, it gives the feeling with this translation of took it, you manhandled it, and you pushed it away. But that's not the real feeling of it. It's seeing it, allowing it to be, not getting involved with it, relaxing, smiling, coming back to your object of meditation. That's how you develop your wisdom. So we have to kind of be careful with all of our different translations. I happen to be up in Seattle where where they have some of the oldest text they just found in Afghanistan, and it was writings of a monk in this original language, whatever that happened to be. And it was writings of a monk in his original language. Whatever that happened to be, I don't remember the name of it. But I got invited to a translation party with the scholars to see what was being said, and it was real good experience. And they were trying to be as clear and precise with the words as they could possibly be. And I really appreciate that. They came up with one definition of the word perception that I really didn't like what they were saying, and I suggested that they change the definition of perception into naming. Instead of what they use, I don't remember right off, but it was real interesting experience to be there and see how truly interested. They are trying to be as precise as possible. And a couple of them weren't Buddhist. They don't care. It was just an intellectual exercise. And this is where we have to be real careful with our translations because there has to be the practical aspect of the translation. If you are too literal, it can lead one direction. If you are not literal enough, it can lead in another direction. So I suggested to some of them that it would be good if they started meditating so that they could get clearer with the definitions that they were using. And there was a Mahayana monk that was there, and he was real interested in the meditation. As a matter of fact, we stopped for about 15 minutes, and the nun wanted to talk to me about meditation, the way I was teaching it. And the whole time that we would be in the room, she was like real nondescript. And I went out and I talked to her. She said that she practiced this from an that form of meditation and that what I what did I think? And I said, well, I don't know, but I do it according to the original suttas as much as I possibly can. And we are practicing the 6 hours. And I explained the 6 hour to her. Now this was just a 15-minute chit chat that we had. She walked back into the room. You could have turned off the lights off. I mean, she was glowing. She was so happy that she finally ran across something that seemed to make sense. And she promised me that she was going to try it. So we will see. Anyway, it this goes through repeating the same thing again with thoughts of ill will, thoughts of cruelty, and how they cause pain for others. Majjhima Nikāya, section 4 and 5. As I abided thus, diligent, ardent, and resolute, a thought of ill will arose in me, a thought of cruelty arose in me. I understood thus. This thought of cruelty has arisen in me. This leads to my own affliction, to others' affliction, and to the affliction of both. It obstructs wisdom, causes difficulties, and leads away from Nibbana. When I consider this, it subdued it in me. Whenever a thought of cruelty arose in me, I abandoned it, removed it, did away with it. Bhante Vimalaramsi, he zigzagged it. Then, this is one of my favorite things in all of the text it says. Majjhima Nikāya, section 6. Monks, whatever a monk frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of his mind. If he frequently thinks and ponders upon thoughts of sensual desire, he has abandoned the thoughts of renunciation to cultivate the thoughts of sensual desire. And then his mind inclines to thoughts of sensual desire. Bhante Vimalaramsi. Now, what's this talking about? Your old habitual tendencies. What do we think about? The more you think about something, the more your mind inclines to think about it. The more you indulge in thoughts of sensual desire, the more you are going to have thoughts of sensual desire. The more you think about having a pure mind and letting go of craving, the more your mind will tend towards doing that. What you think and ponder upon, that's the inclination of your mind. Majjhima Nikāya.
Yes, today we have read about this sutta, two kinds of thoughts.
The learning which Bhante re-emphasizes is he talks about how the importance of smile directly affects our mindfulness and our practice. And Bhante was emphasizing here about even laugh. And here we can learn that Bhante also learned about smile with the experience of students. And really, it has impacted our practice and it is making our lives happy. And Bhante was emphasizing about the jhana, like how one feels lightness when one is in jhana. Yes, Nanda madam, do you want to say anything, madam? Gopinath sir, do you want to say anything, sir? Otherwise, we'll share merits. Sharing merit. Otherwise, we will read. May suffering once be suffering free, and the fear struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu,
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 sadhu, sadhu.
sadhu. Wishing all happiness and peace to all. Thank you. Thank you all for joining.